But number 10, we have the document hanging on the wall. Now, in the direction of the eastern wall, between the door of repentance or Bab-e-Tawbah and the Kaaba's door, there is a document printed on the board of marbles. The document is of King Fahd bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, and now this document indicated the date of renovation. Next up, let's talk about the door of the Kaaba. The door of the Kaaba, also known as Bayt-ul Allah, is located at the eastern wall. Now, this door is believed to have been built by the Prophet Ibrahim himself. Previously, it was said that there was actually no door in the Kaaba. There was only a portal in the eastern wall to enter and exit the building. Now, the door from the interior is covered with a beautiful silk curtain which has silver and gold prints. Now let's look at the stairs at number 8. So on the right side of the interior, there is a staircase leading to the roof, which is accessed through the door of repentance. Now the stairs leading to the Kaaba's roof are mostly made of aluminum. The right side interior of the Kaaba is a Levantine corner and resembles an enclosed rectangular structure that has no windows. In the Kaaba, you'll also notice some pretty interesting decorative stones. And one of these stones is decorated with Arabic calligraphy using the script of Kufic. Now, the words that are embossed on these stones are made of beautiful, colorful pieces of marble. There are a total of 10 stones inside the Kaaba, and the words on them were written after the 6th century AH. Number 6 leads us to the curtain of the Kaaba. So inside of the Kaaba, it's covered with a red silk curtain that has a texture of embroidery on it. It has an inscribed weave in cream-colored silk over the dark red ground. Now, the central band has a prominent inscription of the Kalimat al-Tawhid, which means that there is no God except Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. Now, other than this, there can be seen 2 expressions, Ya Mana and Ya Hanan, written in Kiswa. Both these expressions are names of Allah. Okay, number 5 leads us to the walls and floor. The walls of the interior of the Kaaba are decorated with colorful emblazoned marble. The floor of the Kaaba is made of marble and limestone. Now, the color of most of the marble is white, but some pieces are colored as well. The 13 meter by 9 meter or 43 feet by 30 feet interior walls are tiled with white marble halfway to the roof with darker trimmings along the floor. The interior floor is approximately 2.2 meters or 7 feet 3 inches above the ground area where tawaf is performed. Now, number 4 is pretty interesting. There's some pots hanging on the inside. Now, there's a number of golden colored lamp-like structures that are hung inside the Kaaba. Nobody yet knows the reason why they are hanging and what they really refer to. But these pots are hanged with a rope, and the rope is tied to the pillars inside of the Kaaba. And these are referred to as gift of Kaaba. And for number 3, let's actually look at the pillars inside of the Kaaba. Every single column inside of the Kaaba is in square shape. And between these 3 columns, a pillar is present. The pillar passes through all of the columns. Now, there is a small altar or table set between one and the other 2. Now, the sides of the pillar are extended to the southern and northern walls of the interior of the Holy Kaaba. To these walls, the various lamp-like objects are attached. For number 2, let's talk about the wood that you're going to notice in the interior of the Kaaba. 49 pieces of the world's most powerful wood hold the inside of the Kaaba. The Kaaba's roof is supported by 49 pieces of teak wood imported from Burma and processed in Jeddah. They are evenly distributed on the Kaaba's walls, and teak tree wood is well known for its durability. They grow in the Southeast Asian tropical forests and can reach a height of 45 meters. They are commonly used in shipbuilding and other high quality industries. Coming in at number 1, we have the wooden columns. The area, which is less than 180 square meters, contains 3 wooden columns that support the Kaaba's ceiling. Now, each of the dark brown columns, which is over 1,300 350 years old, has a perimeter of about 150 centimeters and a diameter of 44 centimeters. Each column is supported by the square wooden base. Now, a pillar suspended from the Kaaba's gifts is located between the three columns. Starting at number 10, let's talk about Hajj. Now, Hajj is a pilgrimage in Islam that must be performed by Muslims who are capable health-wise as well as financially. Now, this is an essential part for a Muslim's life that needs to be completed once in a lifetime. Now, mostly the Hajj ritual is performed as part of an obligatory pillar of Islam, and the Kaaba is at the epicenter of the city of Mecca. Building is at the center of Islam's most important mosque, the Great Mosque of Mecca. So both men and women, they dress in white clothing, which is known as ihram, during Hajj. Now, this symbolizes the state of purity that they're entering. Also, the Kaaba is sometimes called the House of Allah. The Quran states that the Kaaba was the first ever house of worship for Muslims, and guess what? It was also built on instructions directly by Allah by the prophets Ibrahim and his son Ismail. So it goes way back, even before the time of the Prophet Muhammad. But speaking of that, actually, you see the Kaaba originally? Now, guys, speaking of that, actually, the Kaaba being built way back, did you know that the Kaaba that we see today is not exactly the same Kaaba as was constructed by the prophets Ibrahim and Ismail? So from time to time, the Kaaba needed to be rebuilt after natural disasters as well as man-made disasters. There was also a major reconstruction during the life of the Prophet Muhammad. Actually, as a matter of fact, it was done before he even became a prophet. Since then, there has been an average of one major reconstruction that's done every century. Now, the last renovation, however, took place back in the year 1996, and this one was intense. It was extremely thorough, and it led to the replacement of many of the stones, as well as re-strengthening the foundations and adding in a new entire roof. So it's likely that the next reconstruction won't actually be done or needed for centuries to come. And this is because modern building techniques and materials ensure that the Kaaba is as secure as it has ever been. So now most times when we see the Kaaba, it looks like this. You see that? It's all black and it has a gold band going around it. But did you know that the Kaaba actually used to be multicolored? Yeah, no, I didn't either. And you know, this tradition of the Kaaba being black actually seems to have started at the time of Abbasids, and it was said that their household color was black. And before that, the Kaaba was covered in multiple colors, including green, red, and even white. Also, another interesting fact is, according to Islamic tradition, there are actually two Kaabas. The Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur means frequented house, or the house which is situated on the seventh heaven is directly above the Kaaba on earth. And it's, according to Muslim beliefs, the angels make tawaf, which is going around the Kaaba 7 times, similar to when Hajj is performed or Umrah is performed. And by the way, Umrah is different from Hajj because Hajj has specific times that it's conducted, but Umrah can be done any time of the year. So apparently this Kaaba on earth is a replica of the Kaaba in the 7th heaven. Angels perform prayers there, and every single day it's said that 70,000 angels visit it. Now, this will continue up until the day of resurrection. All right, guys, so moving on to fact number 5. So at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, each and every aspect to do with the rites of Hajj was actually in the hands of different subgroups of the Quraysh tribe. And now every one of these would eventually lose control of the guardianship of a particular rite except for one. Now, on the conquest of Mecca, the Prophet Muhammad was given the keys to the Kaaba, and instead of keeping it in his own possession, he returned it back to Usman ibn Talha of the Bani Shaiba family. Now, they had been the traditional key keepers of the Kaaba for centuries, and the Prophet Muhammad confirmed them as being the ones to fit that role up until the end of time by saying these words: "Take it, O Bani Talha, eternally up to the day of resurrection, and it will not be taken from you unless by an unjust, oppressive tyrant." Now, what many people don't know is that one of the major problems with the Kaaba was that it was situated at the bottom of a valley, and when rain used to fall, the valleys actually used to flood. So this was not an uncommon occurrence in Mecca, but it was a cause of a lot of trouble before the days of flood control systems as well as modern sewage systems were put in place. So for days on end, the Kaaba would actually be submerged in water. But it did not stop the Muslims from performing the tawaf. They literally started swimming around the Kaaba. That's dedication right there. So you guys know how the Kaaba looks. We've put up many pictures and clips of it already. But did you know that it was actually never meant to be a cube? See, the original dimensions of the Kaaba included the semicircle area known as the Hajar Ismail, and that's actually not supposed to be a cube shape. So when the Kaaba was actually rebuilt just a few years before the Prophet Muhammad received his first revelation, the Quraysh tribe agreed to only use income from pure sources to complete the rebuilding. And that meant that no money from gambling or stealing or prostitution or anything like that could be used. But you know, the crazy thing was that a lot of the money that they had, there wasn't enough of it that was untainted to be used to rebuild the Kaaba to its original size and shape. So they had to just use the money and rebuild it the best they could, as close to the original shape as possible. Now, another fascinating aspect of the Kaaba is that inside of it, there's actually a place where the Prophet Muhammad is said to have prayed. The inside of the Kaaba is actually infused with a mix of musk and authentic sandalwood perfumes, and they've been reapplied throughout the years. Floors of the Kaaba are made of white marble framed by 4-meter high rosewood marble running parallel to the walls. Now, at the inner entrance, located in the back of the Kaaba, there's actually this little niche there where the Prophet Muhammad performed his prayers. And this area is actually indicated by different colored marble. And finally, the last surprising and interesting fact related to the Kaaba is the stoning of the devil. What am I talking about? Well, it's part of the annual Islamic Hajj pilgrimage, and during this ritual, Muslim pilgrims actually throw pebbles and stones at 3 walls that were previously pillars, and these walls are called Jamarat in the city of Mina, just east of Mecca. Now, it is one of the series of ritual acts that must be performed in a Hajj. It's pretty much a symbolic reenactment of the Prophet Ibrahim's Hajj, where he stoned 3 pillars, and that represented the temptation to disobey God and preserve Ismail, his son. Starting off at number 10, many reconstructions. The holy building of Muslims has not been the same since it was first made. Instead, it has faced many natural disasters like flooding, for example, and it also has come under attack, which caused a lot of damage to the building. So, with that said, the building has been reconstructed several times. According to most historians, the Kaaba has been rebuilt around 12 times, and the most recent renovation in 1996 used cutting-edge technology to fortify it against natural disasters. According to Islamic belief, Prophet Adam, Prophet Ibrahim, and Prophet Ismail, and Prophet Muhammad all helped to build the Kaaba. Next up at number 9, let's take a look at the color of the Kiswa. This is something that a lot of people actually just never knew. If you guys don't know what Kiswa is, well, it's the black cloth that covers the Kaaba. But here's a fact that you probably don't know about the color of the Kiswa. It's that it hasn't always been black. Some people didn't even realize that it was actually a cloth that covers the Kaaba. But either way, primarily, the tradition of covering the Kaaba with Kiswa began during the Jurhum tribe's rule. The Prophet Muhammad later draped the Kaaba in a white Yemeni cloth. Then, with the passage of time, caliphs used a variety of colors including red, green, and also white. And the Abbasids, they eventually settled on black to eliminate the Kiswa's frequent color changes. And since then, only black has been used for the Kiswa. For number 8, let's talk about the shape having changed. The Kaaba has been standing at the same place where its foundation was laid, and there are no major changes in the shape of the Kaaba. But with time, there have been some minor changes that took place in the building. With the initial foundation, the Kaaba was originally more of a rectangular shape. It got its cubical shape when the Quraysh rebuilt it because they couldn't rebuild the entire structure due to a lack of funds. But a cube, rectangle, not too far off in terms of shape. It wasn't like the Kaaba was an oval in shape and then became cubed over time. No. The next fact that many people don't know is that the door has changed. Originally, the Kaaba had no door, according to historians. Then it had 2 doors. One was for entering the Kaaba and the other was for exiting it. It also had a window on one of the walls, but now there is only one door of the building and the window is also removed from the wall. However, there is a door inside the Kaaba which is used to get access to the roof. Now I want to talk about what's inside the Kaaba. Many people are very curious to know what is actually inside the Kaaba. The inside of the building is supported by 3 pillars. There are several lanterns and pot-like structures that hang with a string between these pillars. People say that these pots were gifts given by different kings, and there is a small table that can be seen with one of the pillars. Plaques commemorating the rulers who renovated it can also be seen hanging on the walls, and the upper part of the walls is covered with a green cloth embroidered with Quranic verses. There's also a golden door called Bab at-Tawbah on the right wall that leads to the staircase leading to the roof of the Kaaba. For number 5, did you know that the Hajar-e-Aswad is broken? So the stone inside a silver case is called the Hajar-e-Aswad, and it's a stone which is placed at this place by the Prophet Muhammad himself. The stone is holy for the Muslims and they kiss the stone when they visit the Kaaba. Originally, the stone was a single piece, but after facing floods, sieges, and even thefts, it is now broken down into 8 different pieces. Also, did you know that there are custodians of the Kaaba? Yeah, this is a very interesting fact that really surprised me. Only one family, the family of Al-Shaiba, have been the custodian of the keys of the Kaaba for the last 15 centuries. The key is inherited by the eldest member of the family. The keys of the Kaaba were bestowed on the Tazim tribe before the Quraysh, and it passed to Quza'a, then Qusay, who gave it to his son Abdul Dar, who handed it down to his son Uthman. It went from one person to another until it rested with the Bani Shaiba, the sons of Shaiba. It is still inherited by their successors, as I mentioned. For number 3, let's look at the cleaning of the Kaaba. The cleaning ceremony of the Kaaba takes place twice every single year. It's done during the month of Shaban, and next time it's done is before Hajj during Dhul Qa'dah. The cleaning is done by the Al-Shaiba family. Of course, they're the ones that have the keys to the Kaaba. And the building is not cleaned with ordinary water and cleaning detergents. Instead, the cleaning mixture is prepared from Zamzam water, Taif rose water, and expensive oud oil. For number 2, the door is open to everyone? No. Okay, so let me explain. There are only a few people who are allowed to enter the building of the Kaaba, but it wasn't always that way. The Kaaba was initially open for anyone to enter and to pray inside at any given time. But over time, as the number of pilgrims wishing to enter the Kaaba grew, well, it created a lot of fuss and sometimes even friction. So the doors were closed and only a few special guests are allowed to now enter the building and offer prayers inside of the Kaaba. And for number 1, tawaf never stops. So the act of tawaf, which is the ritual of walking around the Kaaba 7 times as part of the Hajj in Mecca, reflects that the Kaaba is the spiritual access for Muslims. Tawaf is continuous, 24 hours, and this practice does not stop except for the 5 obligatory prayers. Just as all matter in the universe revolves in a constant circular motion around a center. So yeah, that's what this tawaf practice symbolizes. Even during floods, people perform tawaf by swimming. They're like, I can't walk, so let me just swim. That is dedication, right? The act of tawaf, like every orbit, represents the worship of one God, Allah.